Hey Angelo, I want to thank you for taking the time to speak with me today. And I know we touched base about a month ago and you had said that PPC was going really well for you. And about a year ago, I know you guys were struggling a little bit with it. So I wanted to take a chance here to jump on the phone and hear what you guys have changed, how you guys are treating the leads differently, and ultimately what you guys have done to be able to find success in PPC from last year.
So I would say last year in 2018, when the PPC leads were coming in, there was a much greater, longer duration response time from when the lead actually came into the door until we actually connected with the customer. Mm-hmm. That was number one. Now, granted, I was brought in onto the team in July of 2018. PPC was running before I had gotten here with the company, and that's what the setup was. So it really wasn't very, I guess, so to say, quick response time. Was much slower. So, the lead would come in, it would sit for a few hours, maybe a few days until one of our acquisition reps got to the deal. Through some trainings, through some infographics you guys sent over, I know John Martinez had a few things to say about it as well. If you don't hit these folks in a quick manner, then the next person that they're clicking on in a Google search result is going to be the guy that they go to. And it's really funny. I have a funny story. So there's a local guy in our market that I'm actually kind of close with. And he's a competitor, but he's a friend. He gives us deals quite often, and we've developed a rapport with him. But I noticed when I started, I was doing an acquisition sales role when I got here in July and August of last year. And for some reason, I'm like, damn, I keep seeing this guy on the appointments that I'm going to. And lo and behold, once I started kind of managing the PPC and the marketing side of this business, I realized that I remember the 3 appointments I saw him basically in 1 week. I was on 3 appointments. He was at all of them. And I looked in retrospect like 3 months later, and they were all PPC leads. So I went to Google, I typed in "We Buy Houses Richmond." Lo and behold, he was like the guy right beneath us when it came to PPC leads. So what was happening was the people were, filling out information to us. We were delaying a few hours, maybe a few days in getting response. And he was scheduling an appointment, and then we would schedule an appointment close to them. We'd show up at the same time. That was the biggest indicator to me of, hey, we need to A, speed up the process of our response time, and also B, kind of let the customer know in an exclusive way that we are going to be the person that can perform the best. There's nobody in the market like us who can follow through. And if we say we're going to close the deal, we're going to close the deal. So that's kind of the second component of the systems upgrade, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a minute. But so like I said, in 2018, it was much more slow responsive time. Our competitors were getting a shot at these deals. Today, it's much different.
Very cool and all great stuff. Can you take a few minutes to talk about how you guys changed and what you changed to help decrease your response time?
So what we do is we kind of have, when a PPC lead comes in, it's kind of like a fire drill, right? And that's the way that we want it to be. We want to create a sense of urgency in our acquisitions guys to go close that deal. We've trained them all on, if you don't, there's a good saying out there, and I find it relatively true. If you don't call a PPC lead in the first 8 to 9 minutes, they already have an appointment scheduled with somebody else. And we kind of drilled that into our team. And so what happens is when a PPC lead comes in, I get a text message on my phone. They all get text messages on their phones. I don't even do sales anymore. So, they better be on the phone within 8 minutes of me getting a text, because that means that a lead has come through. Also, an email is sent behind that, both from your guys' service that you set up and also from our system, our CRM that we use, another email set up. So between those 2 or 3 things, everyone's alerted. Now, also, over the first 6 months we made this change, I was doing, for all the PPC customers that were calling in, I was answering the phone directly. So through our call system, we had the number routed directly to my cell phone. I was live answering, talking, scheduling an appointment, either going in on myself or having one of the acquisition reps go on it. Now what happens is we have our inbound leads manager. If a PPC lead calls in, it goes directly to his cell phone. He's answering it live. That was a huge improvement in response time. Previously, we had all of our calls for PPC going to a call center who was just taking the information, then one of our guys was following up, and we completely eliminated the call center from them, and we have one of our live acquisitions guys chatting with them on the phone, setting the appointment 10 seconds after they hit the call button on Google or wherever they came from.
Yeah, and that's a huge part right there. The difference between answering a call live and using a call service. When you answer it live, you have the opportunity to make your first impression with them and keep them on the phone for longer, truly associating them with your brand. Whereas when you use a call service, it's the first impression is whatever the call services puts on. They get basic information, and then the prospect hangs up. They're going to go through their list and they're going to call their companies. Whereas if you answer it live, you're hopefully their last point of contact, and you can close the deal with them.
And plus, a lead for us through PPC is much more expensive than a lead would be, say, through a direct mail postcard. So, I mean, if you're going to spend the money, invest the resources. Otherwise, save your money, right? I firmly believe now, seeing the two sides of the coin, like having the call center answer the calls versus one of our professionals live. If you're going to spend money on PPC and have a call center answer the call, just save your money. I mean, save your money, use it elsewhere, because you're going to have terrible conversion rates in that area. And we're living proof of that. We did it for enough time that we felt the burn, and we realized that a change needed to happen.
When your sales professionals take an inbound call now, are they having any type of different conversation with a direct mail lead than they would with the PPC lead?
Yeah, it's much more, and that's a difficult question. So the direct mail, they have time to sit on it and think about it. Usually they're not in so much of a dire situation. Somebody that is doing PPC is intentional, right? They went onto a website, they typed it in, something either happened recently in their life or is going to be happening soon in their life where they need a solution. And those people that are calling into us, I don't think it's like entirely different than somebody that calls from direct mail, minus the fact that they're intentional for a reason. Sometimes, like our CEO always says, it's a guy, at 10 p.m. at night who's, maybe stoned looking for a pizza. Like, kind of treat it like that. It's going to be a guy who has no idea what he wants. He's just reaching out, trying to put out feelers. And, 98% of people have never sold more than one home in their life or purchased more than one home in their life. So treat them delicately. So our acquisitions guys are all trained to find, the motivations. They're all trained to find, if there's any equity in the home, what they want to do, their long-term plan or short-term plan. So really it's kind of similar to what a normal person calling in looking to sell their house might be. I don't see a huge difference, but then again, they're doing it for a reason. So let's dig quickly to find out that reason.
When you were brought on in July, what was the sense or the expectations around a PPC lead, and how did you see those expectations shift throughout 2019?
So when I was brought in, like I said, the processes and systems on our end, as well as what we were relaying to you guys, weren't matching, right? So our radius of PPC search that we were using was much broader. So we were also including, and if you draw a map around, we're in Richmond, Virginia. If you draw a map around the city, right, there's only so many areas and zip codes that we buy in. It's like 20 zip codes. Whereas the lasso we were using with you guys was included 60 zip codes. So 40 of them we never really profited on deals before. So there was a lot of conversation between our company internally that PPC wasn't working. PPC is not really worth it, etc. And then diving deeper into it, you realize that it's not the PPC that's not working. It's the conversion, all the factors that go into the conversion that are broken, the systems that are broken, so to say. So last year there wasn't much excitement around PPC. It was just kind of another deal flow. Deals are coming in, try to convert them if you can. Whereas now, today, it's like these leads are hot. These leads can convert. Let's jump right on them. So, and there's profitability, which is also, much different story than last year. So once you start involving money and profit coming into the business, like the whole viewpoint of any marketing avenue changes, and that happened here. So last year we were spending, 50% of what we're spending today on PPC, and that's because we've built a system around PPC that makes it profitable for us. Whereas we didn't have that before. So, and I kind of see that with any marketing avenue, they're all going to be a little different. They're all going to have some quirks, some ticks that if you don't adjust to it, someone's going to adjust to it and turn those leads into profit. And with PPC and with the help of you guys, we were able to fine tune the processes, especially, what we were hunting for and putting out there in regards to the mapping, the areas we were targeting, kind of lassoing and tightening that up. The systems, like we talked about, going from just a normal lead sitting in the pipeline for a few days or a few hours to them getting a call to live answering, like just those systems and tweaks. So the conversation around PPC has drastically night and day changed since 2018 to 2019, and those are some reasons why.
For someone who currently uses several different marketing avenues, what suggestion would you offer to them to help them take a step back and identify where that breakdown may be happening?
The first thing that I realized, and we hit on it a minute ago, was the location. So you need a tight lasso around areas that you do deals. And the reason I say that is I'm not a PPC expert, but what I've realized really quickly was, okay, even if you take a 10-mile radius around Richmond, so the center is city of Richmond and 10 miles around it, even if you have a 10-mile lasso, you're going to get leads from 15 miles out and 20 miles out, because what's going to happen, someone's going to be on their cell phone, they're going to drive into the city of Richmond, get tagged in an IP address being in there, they're going to drive home, and then when they go home, they're going to click on, buy homes Richmond, but the IP address is still going to be associated with that radius. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then that lead's going to make it to you. Your PPC ad is going to pop up on their browser 15 miles away, even though you set a radius of 10. So you have to be super keen on that. We realized that pretty dang quickly. The lead feedback system sheet you guys provide to us in 2018, we weren't filling it out. When we started tweaking the processes, and that's something you can get to too, we started filling that out religiously. And what I would do is there's a cool website, it's called Batch Geo, where you upload addresses and it gives you a map. So we quickly saw, like, okay, we're getting leads from 50 miles out and our radius at the time was 30 miles out. Let's tighten it into 10 miles out. So now the furthest we'll go out is 15 or 20 miles out. So that's one little tweak that we had.
What would you recommend as a second step? We've already identified the locations that are doing well. What do we do now?
Response time, absolutely. And response time might even be number one, because if you have a wide radius, you're still going to get deals in the prime locations, and if your response time is trash, you're not going to hack it. I believe it was John Martinez. You guys had sent out an infographic. I believe he was tied to it. You're shaking your head, yes, so I'm probably right. That said, if you don't respond to a PPC lead in the first 9 minutes, your chances of converting it drop by half or 70%. I think that is 1,000% accurate. So what we do is, we train our guys, answer the call the person back. Like if they've submitted just an inquiry online with their name and phone number, you better be calling them in the first 5 minutes. If they're calling in, we answer it live. So what we do is we tell our guys, get an appointment, obviously qualify them, et cetera, first, but get an appointment and relay to them that you are the player in town. They don't need to keep clicking and, scheduling more appointments. Like, try to make it so that you're the only person that they click through and that you're the only person going on that appointment. And I think that is crucial. And otherwise, you're going to notice two things are going to happen. One, if you wait a day or two, they're not going to answer your phone call. You could shoot them an email, you can send them a phone call. They're going to, at 10 p.m. the night before, they were in a critical condition, needing to sell, like I was alluding to earlier. Now it's noon the next day, they're at work and work's great again. They don't want to sell their house. They want to stay in this job until next week when they think they want to move again. So that's one thing. The second thing is getting the exclusive appointment, making sure that they know that you're confident that you are able to work on their deal. You're going to show up, you're going to be the guy, there's nobody in town that's as good as you, and kind of setting that expectation so that they don't go call 5 other people that are running PPC ads in your market and you're all showing up at noon on a Tuesday for an open house now. That's what was happening in 18 and 19 that doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, and jumping back to the response time, we have some clients who feel that they need to get back to their prospects within about 4 seconds. It may be a bit extreme, but to their point, they have a higher chance of converting that lead to a deal and a lesser chance that that lead actually calls somebody else.
And I would kind of challenge people, other providers. I know if you have your PPCs flowing into your CRM automatically, do an audit of the last 20 deals you did and see what the actual response time was. If it's greater than an hour, like, you're losing. You're gonna lose. So you gotta figure that out. That's huge.
Looking back at everything you've learned through PPC, the systems you've changed, the intake process that you've changed to ultimately help find more success with these PPC leads, what suggestion, what is the biggest takeaway that you would offer to somebody who currently thinks PPC is not working for them?
It's not a magic solution. I mean, like a lot of people think, and at a previous company I was at, it's not in this industry, I was pushing them to dive into PPC and they were super scared to do it, and they ultimately never did it. If you don't have the time to invest into leads that are hot coming in that minute, like if you're a one-man show but you're doing a million other things, like, PPC might not be for you unless you have somebody trained to live answer. I really 1,000% believe the live answering thing out of anything that we've done and anything that we talked about in this conversation is number one. If you are not live answering a PPC lead, don't do it. I mean, like, and this isn't to deter any of your clients or, blow anything up, but if you're not able to live answer somebody calling desperately looking to sell their home for you to make a profit on, I mean, don't do PPC. If you have the time to put into it, PPC could be a game changer for you. And it's proven that way to us. I mean, we've like 4X'd our profits from PPC in 2018 to PPC in 2019 because of what I'm talking about right now. And that's almost solely because of the live answer and the response time changing from a few hours or a few days to minutes. Really get that customer on the phone, set the appointment, go on the appointment, and don't let them change their mind during the interim. So I guess if you're scared of PPC or you think it's not working, take a look at your systems, take a look at your response time, and if it's still not working, then call it a day. But check your response times, answer the call, and get it closed. I mean, it's pretty simple.